Good day and welcome to the Parent Portal podcast. This podcast is presented by the Student Remediation Center as a platform to provide parents with tips and recommendations for navigating through their child's life experiences. I am Mrs. Lewis, Principal at SRC Private Primary, and today I am joined by Alicia Halls, Lead Consultant at ALEMACSS Associates, as well as Trishana Sirju-Arjoon, Financial Advisor. Today's discussion focus is centered around understanding how parents can get prepared to support dreams, supporting children getting prepared for an awesome life. So again, good day and welcome, Ms. Halls.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Trishana.
Hi.
So of course, we want to start off by chatting about the role of finances in supporting dreams, because oftentimes we think about the dreams, we envision how awesome it would be to have the child who becomes the great musician, the great dancer, the great accountant, and far too often we don't consider the financial implications that are associated in supporting those dreams. Miss, what contributions do you have to share in this regard?
You know, I have spoken to a lot of young people who, when they share with you, they seem to come to some resolution that, you know what, Miss, I'm settling for this because I know mommy can't afford or daddy can't afford. Or sometimes they share, Miss, I am willing to work for 5 years, just doing in a menial job. And there's nothing wrong with working for 5 years to build your finances. However, it's nice that if our kids have options, it's nice to know that, mommy can say, I have this savings for you so that you can pursue your goal, whether it's be medicine, account, whatever it may be, that they can have something in the waiting. Oftentimes, that's not the case. The percentage of parents who have prepared for their children, it's in the minority.
So it's important for us to break down even more when we talk about preparation, what we're talking about. Now, of course, in education, those studying in education would have learned about the hidden curriculum. We're looking at character and values. But when we start thinking about costs, there's also hidden costs to education. And it varies based on the age of the child, the academic level of the child. But there are a lot of costs that we really want to encourage parents listening to be mindful of, even as you get ready, whether it's for transition to a new academic level or really thinking ahead medium term where your child is going. So at a preschool level, what is your hidden cost? You're starting to think about the cost of transport, the cost of books, the cost of uniforms. Because of course, ungratefully so, education for the most part in Trinidad is free. But even though you're not paying to go to public school, for those whose kids are in public school, there are associated costs. When we start talking about the preschool child, it's primary school, it's very similar. You're looking at costs of transport, costs of uniforms, costs of extra classes that now start to kick in. Yeah, and we start talking about the cost of the fees, the club fees. Technology is a huge thing in school. We have to sponsor some of these and help schools with it. So we have the cost of the technology fee, the computer lab fee, and so on.
The
photocopies that we have. And it might seem simple until we really sit and we start to add up what all of this is going to cost. We bridge into secondary school, and the club fees increase and the association fees increase, the extra classes increase. We have all these hidden costs that a lot of times we're not considering when we think about the dreams. And even when we start to project towards careers at the tertiary level, we're thinking about further education, whether it's a degree program, a skills training program. And then we start thinking about housing. We start having to think about, is my child going to live at home, or does my child need to get an apartment in St. Augustine? Or is my child going to study in Trinidad, or is my child going to study abroad? Do I qualify for any sort of grant or loan or system, or do I have to foot this bill on my own? Because outside of us saying education is, I say relatively free, there are still so many costs. Ms. Halls, even as you work in schools and support parents, what has been your observations with regards to parents being prepared even for these hidden costs?
As I shared earlier, most of the times parents seem not to be prepared. I think they expect certain things, as you said, to be free, and then they realize, oh my God, I bought the textbook and I still have to pay for photocopies. And when the photocopy bill crosses $100, I already gave $100 to the school. What it is they want more for? And you have things like this coming up simply because people are not prepared. And most of the middle class in our society, they literally live month to month. So when it is that an extra cost or a hidden cost appears, it's like, where do we find the money? How do we finance this bill? And even when you look as far as university, most of the children are denied the opportunity because the parents are not prepared. They are not prepared, whether it's for locally or abroad. Now gate has changed a bit, and it's not a free for all. Parent has to qualify, and sometimes we assume just because both parents are working, they automatically have a stash of money and they are ready. And a household with 4 kids, each of them going to university or want to pursue tertiary education back to back, they are not prepared. They are simply not prepared for it all. So it's looking at ways as how I can be prepared as a parent, what I need to know, what is out there, what is available for me. Because a lot of times, even with savings, because they have so much bills, they find it difficult to save. So when you talk to them about being prepared, it's like, I can't. So they would like to know what is out there. How can they?
Now, of course, I'm looking forward to chatting, and we have financial advisor Trishana Sirju-Arjoon with us, chatting about best case scenarios and catering for when life happens. But even before she jumps into those two, just asking her as well to share a little bit on when parents should start getting prepared. Because, of course, we know within our local landscape, we tend to get prepared within the exam year. So your child is finishing up A levels next year. All right, let me start thinking about university life. But is that the best time to start positioning yourself to get prepared? What does it mean to get prepared financially? And at what point should this preparation level start? So, Trishana, we're handing over, and of course, listening to you as you share with us and guide our listening parents about how to get prepared to support dreams.
So, starting off, first of all, about when. When is an important question, because if it is we are waiting until we get to A levels or CAPE, then we're too late. And honestly, there's very little you can do other than take a loan at that point. So now you are going into debt in order to finance your child, or maybe you perhaps even suggesting that your child will finance the debt once school is out.
So let's put a pin in that, because I think we touched on an important point that I believe is an assumption, but doesn't need to be so. What you just said was, what we do is we take a loan. And in my experience, and Ms. Halls, you could share from your observation as well, I think within our local culture, that's just the assumption of what you do. You get to that point and you take a loan. It's the most natural step. That's what you do. Because who has how much of hundreds of thousands to pay all these university fees or the private school fees? So that's what we do. We take a loan and we pay off in increments. So now I put a pin in it because I wanted to highlight, even as you said that, what you're doing is opening the doors to say, you don't have to go down that route of taking. You look so surprised right now.
No, I'm not. Why I'm surprised is because it's true. Because if you don't prepare, you get to the point where you are in sixth form, your child is in sixth form, And that's what you do.
Yeah.
But the reason why I put a pin in it there is because I don't think that everyone considers that the loan doesn't have to be the automatic route.
That's right.
Because for so long within our local landscape, that is just what you do. You take the loan to fund it. So what you're sharing with us today, Trishana, is that the loan doesn't have to be the plan A.
Loan should be plan D. Because and oftentimes I interact with parents both at the kindergarten level, at primary school, and at secondary school. And often I'll find a real sense of urgency from the parents at secondary school because it's close and they can feel it, and university or whatever happens after sixth form is going to happen in a few years. And so they're often willing to make decisions at that point to start saving.
I want to put another pin there, and I want to turn to Ms. Halls. Miss, now, oftentimes, I think what we'd notice is that Trishana is talking about kindergarten level and paying attention to this level of preparation from as early as, but then even in my interaction with parents at the infant level, working with parents over the years, you find that at that stage, what parents are saying is, well, I don't know what the child would want to do. Why should I, and things are already limited. And next thing, the child don't want to go to school. And what would you say towards that in helping the parent navigate through that thought process?
No, I like how you say they would stress on the fact that they don't know what the child wants to do. And oftentimes, that in itself should be an instigator to start saving because you don't know what he or she would want to do. But in Trinidad, we tend to really have a timing problem because, again, we wait till last minute. And psychologically, we are a bit laid back in the early stages. And think about when you're getting ready to go somewhere. Oh, I have all the time in the world. I have all the time in the world. And the same thing at kindergarten, you actually feel you have all the time in the world. And because of the fact that child is 5, you don't know what they want to be. There's no need in your mind for savings or investing in the future. Contrary to that, it is so much better to be prepared when you don't know, because let's say that child decide, okay, I want to study in Scotland. I want to do medicine in England or law in England. The fact that you don't know is not an excuse. You put yourself at a better mental state when you say, here what, I don't know, but it could be. The dream could be bigger than what I am prepared for.
And I'm glad you bring up dream because that's what we tell our 3-year-olds and our 4-year-olds. You could become anything you want to be. And we tell them this over and over, be anything you want to be. What do you want to be when you grow up? And then they come up with these grand, lovely dreams. And then by the time they reach 14 or 15, we tell them we can't afford their dreams.
But you know what I would also encourage a mindfulness of? That parents need to challenge their own view of what the dream could be. In so many instances, parents define the dream based on their own experiences and what were possibilities when they were either in school and projecting or the possibilities now. But living in a 21st century society that is global in its interconnectivity, the truth is, if you have a 5-year-old, the job your 5-year-old would have by the time he or she becomes an adult most probably does not yet exist. So then so you have kids.
Yes.
You have young kids.
Yeah.
Your children's jobs most probably doesn't exist as yet.
Yeah.
Because the levels of technology that would exist 25 years from now, we haven't started to fathom. Maybe the people in Microsoft offices have started to fathom it, but we certainly have not necessarily started to fathom. And the level of technological and global integration that be taking place, we don't know what that job spec could be like. We don't even know what level of education they would need in what way they would need it in 25 years. So then when we start thinking about the dream, I think again in getting prepared, part of it is redefining what we assume the dream to be. Because if we only assume the dream to be based on the type of job specs we have now, whether it's the doctor, lawyer, mechanic, whether it's the engineer, musician, performing artist, it may be very well be very different as so many job types become obsolete as we evolve as a society. So I just wanted to like just put that in there, that when we start thinking about the dreams, I really think it's important to redefine what the our openness to considering what that dream could be, so that again when we talk about getting prepared, we start talking about looking at what can we do to make sure whatever the dream becomes, we can support it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I usually share with my like, clients as well. So sometimes we saving, and sometimes parents will say that to me. They will say, "Well, what if they don't want to go to university? What happens then?" And I say, it's not a university plan you're saving towards. It's a future plan. And so whatever that means, if your child decides to become an entrepreneur and open a business when he turns 20 or she turns 20, they need capital. They're probably not going to make any money in their first couple of years. So all of that needs to be funded. And how are they going to do that if it is, unless again we go back to you take a loan and now they've started off their life in debt, unless you've started to prepare it. And ultimately, I mean, going back to our first point about when is the best time is as soon as they get a birth certificate.
Right.
It's as early as that. But I mean, the latest possible time should be when they're in kindergarten, because now you started the formal process of getting them on a journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really opportune time for you to say, let me get started on solidifying their future plans by starting to save in a really conscious way towards whatever their future is. And if that means a surgeon, then great. And if that means a business owner, then great. And if that means something that we haven't yet imagined, then great. But in all scenarios, you as a parent can say, dream, and I will finance it.
Got it. Now, one of the things, Trishana, even in our off recording conversations, you would talk about is preparation for best case scenarios and being prepared for when life happens. Could you share a bit with our listening audience concerning that?
Sure. So the best case scenario I always say is you are there on graduation day and in their gown and their hat and you're proud and you're taking the pictures and everybody's smiling and that's a dream, right? Or you see them open the doors to their first business and you're there and customers are walking in and you're experiencing success with them and you've taken them to that point where they've started adulthood in a positive light, and that's where we want to be. So that really and truly is the best place you want to be. You want to live their entire lives and then celebrate success with them. And then of course life happens. So we also have to be prepared for the scenario where we're not going to be there on graduation day. We're not going to see them open the doors to their business. But even in those scenarios, we want as parents, I mean, personally as a parent, whether or not I'm here does not take away from the fact that I wish my children success. And I want them to still graduate, whether I'm there to take the picture or not. And I still want them to have their successful business, whether or not I see it. And so we're preparing for the best case scenario, because that's the dream. We want to be there. But we ultimately also have to prepare for if we're not there, because then we would have failed. There's nobody even there to take the loan if we're not there, and we haven't planned for that scenario. Because often it's really easy to convince parents to start saving towards something, but often we miss a really crucial point, and that is planning for what if I die too soon? What if I'm not there to see the dream? That one is often set aside for later, because we often think we're invincible, all of us, right? And we need to prepare for it, because I think there's no greater gift you could give your family than saying, I love you, whether or not I'm here to see you be successful.
Yeah. Ms. Halls, any contributions concerning that?
You know, the reality of the situation is, as you say, whether or not I'm here. And I think not being there is something that parents don't like to think about. They don't like to conceptualize the fact that the unexpectancy in life can occur at any time. And I think, to be fair to humans, we want to think positive at all times. But I would advise parents and encourage them in being positive, prepare. In being positive, let's not be selfish. And as Trishana said, let us look forward to having our children fulfill their dreams, whether we are there or not. Because at the end of the day, with funeral expenses, or even sometimes they are there physically but not well, and they may be somewhere where they need to be taken care of. And having to think about that, and then tertiary education or your future, it is a lot. It is a lot for a 19, 20-year-old. So parents need to be mindful that, here what? I love you enough to support your dream, whether I'm here or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think it's even coming from a place where they are the parents are being selfish, because often they'll see the savings as me doing something for my child,
Right.
because they'll often say do it for them, but the life insurance they're thinking is for me, so I can put that off. But really and truly, life insurance is never for you. Life insurance is for the people you love.
Yeah.
And so in both scenarios, you are doing something for them, for their future, for their success, to help them build amazing lives.
Definitely. So even as we, bring this bit of a discussion to a close, we trust that you parents who are listening, you've really been inspired to take a look at how you could move forward to be able to support dreams and get prepared for your children to have an awesome life. And when we start thinking about that awesome life, we could recognize that in many regards, when you look at your kids, it could be threefold. On one hand, you want to make sure you have that emotional, social, and family life stability. On another hand, we want to make sure you have solid academic support, and you want to have good financial planning. So even as we bring it to a close, we want to encourage you, if as a parent, you're sitting listening to this podcast and you're thinking that you need support with that emotional, social, family life, solid balance, reach out to ALEMACSS and Associates. Ms. Halls, Alicia Halls here, who is lead consultant there, she would be happy to connect with you, guide you through, and extend support through different plans that they have that helps rebuild individual life, family life, and support. For persons who are concerned about the academic benchmarking and development for their kids, we could encourage you to reach out to Victoria Literacy Center. They provide awesome programs to be able to support kids, whether primary or secondary, evenings and Saturdays, to make sure that they're well supported. And of course, if it is the financial planning aspects, you're wondering, how do I get started with all of this? How do I get started to prepare for whether I'm here, whether I'm not here? Feel free to reach out to Trishana. So just to give you guys some contact numbers to reach out to Trishana Arjoon, our financial advisor with us this evening, you can call 326-5412. Repeating that again, it's 326-5412. To get in touch with Ms. Halls from ALEMACSS and Associates, you can call 310-8979 to book a consultation session. And of course, to find out more about academic support, you can call 282-6105. So I am Mrs. Lewis from SLC Private Primary, and I'm happy to have had these two ladies here with me this evening. Thank you, Ms. Halls. Thank you, Ms. Arjoon, for checking in to discuss how parents can really support their dreams. Any closing remarks?
Be prepared.
Be prepared. That's the consensus.
Yeah.
So, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, mummies and daddies, have a great one. We wish you an awesome time, even as you prepare for the close of the school term. And do stay in touch with us. Comment below if you have any questions for us. We'll be happy to respond. Have a good one.